There we go. I got a screen now. My live one is there. Hold on, let me make sure it's working. Guys, we're going to be talking about some different things today. First and foremost, I'm going to be doing a Trek announcement because if you are a real estate broker in Texas, you just had a heart attack. And on top of that, wow, I don't know. Does everybody get that horrible stuff over their wording, or is it just on my live screen? I'm not sure how that's working. We're going to be going over just some differences and buyer statistics of different people as far as conversations to have with tenants who are saying that they'd rather rent than own, some benefits there. So I'm going to share my screen now. And then I'm going to go to the Texas Real Estate Commission's homepage, because if you've not seen this and you're a licensed real estate broker, you just received an email that says broker business entities licenses were inactivated in error. So if you own if you're a broker and you have a business entity license, it was just terminated, and you were sent a letter from the Texas Real Estate Commission saying you were not allowed to do business, you were no longer available to do anything, stop everything you're doing. That was done in error. So you are still allowed to continue normal business operations, including sponsoring agents and working in real estate. So if you are like me and just had a heart attack, relax, calm down. They realize what they did wrong. They've already notified you that you are able to continue to work. So that is a good sign. That is what I like to see. So that is happy news. On top of that, we're going to be talking about some different things. First, we're going to be talking about misunderstandings about affordability and how they can cost you. This is kind of a cool page. If you don't ever, pay attention to Keeping Current Matters, some really great articles in there about what's available. But you hear a lot of things where people say they'd rather rent than own. There's better benefits to renting. Sometimes that can be true if you don't think you're going to stay in a particular place for a long period of time. Some of the conversations in this article we'll be talking about, they talk about the advantages to renting over owning, because then you can put your money in the stock market instead of real estate. Well, that's foolish, because at the end of the day, you have to pay rent money or you have to pay a mortgage. And so the money that you're paying for rent is being flushed down the toilet, where mortgage money is accruing equity. So it's like basically a forced savings account. Renters pay a higher percentage of their income toward the rental payment than homeowners pay toward their mortgage. Think about this, guys. The only way I can afford to rent someone a home is if I charge them more than my mortgage payment. So if I'm not charging them more than my mortgage payment, I'm losing money every month on my rental property. So to sit there and say, well, it costs less money to rent, absolutely that's not true, because I have to include in there the cost of the mortgage, taxes, property management expenses, escrows, repairs. All those things have to be included in the cost for me to be realistically be able to manage this property. So to say it's cheaper to rent than own, absolutely it's not true. Plus, the tax advantages you get from owning far and away exceed anything else, but I'm not giving tax advice today. But when we look at the median housing expense ratios for households, the typical homeowner spends 16% of its income on housing, while the typical renter spends 26%. That's a huge difference. And it's not just, well, renters don't make as much money as homeowners. This is over the entire case of things. So over the whole scale of people. So absolutely, it makes total sense to own a home. If that is something you can do where you're not worried about moving out, you're not worried about other issues that can come into play. So when you're talking with someone and they're saying, well, I'd rather not own a home because I'd rather invest in the real estate market or invest in the stock market, that doesn't make any sense. It doesn't apply, because they're actually putting more of your money towards housing that could be going towards investing in the stock market, where now you put 16% towards housing, you can put that other 10% into the stock market, and you're still at the same spot you were as a renter. So huge advantages, plus you get the rights of homeownership. Plus the other advantages of homeownership that people don't think about, talk about, is the rights to do what they want with their home. They can paint a wall without having to ask permission. They can tear down a wall, add a wall, do all sorts of repairs and ideas and changes that they don't want to do. Now, the reverse can be true for rentals, and this is something you need to talk to, especially with first-time home buyers or people who've only rented properties, is that they have to definitely have a budget for repairs. You have the conversation all the time with new homeowners. Well, who's going to pay for this? Well, you are the homeowner. You're the homeowner. You have to pay for it now. You have to pay for the new water heater. You have to pay for anything that goes out. Whereas if you're a tenant, that is an advantage. You don't have to. So there is some pluses and minuses. And when you're talking with your clients, especially first-time home buyers, have these conversations of, listen, it's cheaper and that's great, but you've got to put money aside for those rainy day items. What's going to happen when this breaks, when that breaks? How are you going to handle it? These are questions that need to be out there. As far as the data goes, showing 20% to 50% income, 48% of renters, 48% renters, and 38% homeowners as far as their income. Over 50,000, 34 and 24. So it comes in at a 26-16. Renters don't have extra money to invest in other assets. Buying a home is not a decision between investing in real estate versus investing in stocks, as financial advisors often claim. Instead, the home buying investment simply converts some portion of existing expense of renting into an investment in real estate. It is basically a forced investment policy because you're making that mortgage payment every month, which is bringing down your loan, which is building all of your income because you owe less every month. So every month you make a payment, you own more and more of that asset. So it's a huge advantage in investing in real estate. Owning your own home, you're a real estate investor, pure and simple. It explains that you still have a housing expense, rent payments, even if you don't buy a home. You can't live in your 401k, but you can transfer housing expenses to your real estate investment. A mortgage payment is for savings. Your mortgage payment remains relatively the same over time. Your rent keeps going up. Basically, this is absolutely true. If you buy a house, with the exception of if taxes go up or insurance goes up, unless you buy a home with a adjustable rate mortgage, you know what your payment's going to be every month for the most part. So it's a huge, steady investment where we have seen when Nick and I took over the rental department, our average rental was about $700 a month. I don't think we have maybe 10 properties at $700 a month now. The same houses that were renting with $700 a month before are now renting at $900, $1000, $1100, $1200 a month. So in the third of the time frame of a mortgage, the rent has almost doubled, where the mortgage has basically stayed the same. So huge advantages in that time frame of reasons why to own a home. So these are conversations I'm just trying to give you guys to talk to buyers who are on the fence. They don't know if they want to do it. Is it the right time? Is it not? And these are the things that are available. So Nick, if you are on there, feel free to throw in there back me up on this if you agree with me. Median asking rents from 1990 to 2020. This kind of just goes with what I was saying. You can see from this chart that the rents have skyrocketed over the years as far as how much rents have gone up, and that's absolutely true. We've seen a base housing allowance, or BAH, go up significantly over the last couple of years, and it's probably going to go up again because our property taxes have gone up, which means every renter's rent is going to go up between $100, $200 a month just to cover taxes. So we've got to be prepared for that. We've got to understand that. And you got to have that conversation with the tenants. Listen, just because taxes go up, you're not free and clear because you're a tenant. You're going to be absorbing that tax cost from the seller. So your rent is going to go up substantially to cover those tax burdens. So you can't sit there and say, well, the benefit of renting a home is I don't have to pay taxes. You're paying taxes. You just don't get credit for those taxes that you're paying. If you want to own a home and can afford it, waiting could cost you. You need to stop seeing housing as a reward for financial success and instead see it as a critical tool that can facilitate financial success. Affordable home ownership is not a capstone of economic well-being. It's a cornerstone, and that is absolutely true. If you own your own home, a lot of things are opened up to you as far as the abilities to do things. You're growing your net income every month when you make a mortgage payment. The only time it makes sense to rent, is you're really renting from me. Other than that, it doesn't really make sense. Now, that's a joke. End of the day, when does it make sense? If you're not only going to be there for a short time, if you're doing different things, there are some reasons to rent, absolutely. But for the most part, real estate has been a very, very sound investment over the long haul in this country, and will continue to be. And we're seeing that more and more now. We're seeing homes sell for much higher rates. Now, that's not hurting the buyers because the buyers are getting up such good interest rates. It's still a great savings for them over the long run. Bottom line, if your current headline reporting a supposed drop-off in home affordability are making you nervous, Contact your local real estate professional for real insights in your area. And at the end of the day, right now, buying real estate makes absolute sense. There's no doubt about it. It's where you want to be. Now, the other thing I want to show, and I'm going to bring up, the National Association of Realtors every year comes out with a new buyers and sellers generation trends report. This is a really great report to get an idea of where are buyers coming from, what should we be looking for, what are they wanting, and how are they working. Understanding different trends. What age groups are buying, what age groups are selling. Where are they coming from? This is some great information to have and tools. Now, again, this is the national report, so this is not going to be area specific, but the Texas Association of Realtors has one, or Texas Realtors now. They changed their name after 100 years. It's still confusing. There's going to be a lot of different ways to make sure where you can go and where you can find this data. But the National Association of Realtors puts this out, but we're not going to go through it all. It's 143 pages. Some fantastic information here for you guys. So I'm just going to be doing some couple things to get you guys some ideas. We do have a disagreement. It says 1980 is millennial, and I think we all know that I am a Generation X. So I'm not. I will not agree to that. I don't care what Nick says. What percentage of each generation is buying, when they're buying, and how are they buying? Huge conversations as far as characteristics of home buyers. First-time home buyers made up 31% of all home buyers. That's important information to have. So what we're just talking about, all these conversations from people who are nervous, who have never owned a home before, 31% of the home buyers last year or in the market right now have never owned a home before or have never owned a home in the last 3 years. That's a huge amount of people. 82% of the buyers from 22 to 30 and 48% of buyers from 31 to 40 were first-time home buyers. Understanding that a third of the people that you're going to work with or who are basically in the market don't know what it's like, don't know the fears, are really afraid of the process or excited about the process. And that's a huge information to have. You go in there knowing and being that professional, saying, hey, listen, you're new to this market. Let me show you what you need to do. Let me walk you through this process. I'm going to be the professional to make it easier for you. If you're calming them down through the process, it makes it so much better. 20% of buyers, 41 to 50, made up the largest generation group of buyers, with a median of 47, followed by buyers 31 to 40. So knowing that 41 to 50-year-olds make up the largest generation of group buyers. Buyers between the ages of 40 and 54 had the highest household incomes in any generation at $113,000 on average. So these are the people who have been working. They're now at the higher ends of the jobs. They're in the process of starting to get the idea of retiring, but probably not there yet. But they're still where the most money is coming in, the managers, if you will. Characteristics of home buyers. Huge things. Age of home buyers. Letting you know, 2% of home buyers were under 21. 14% were 22 to 30, 23, 31 to 40. 5% still were the silent generation at 75 to 95-year-olds. So just really cool information to give you for that information. Household income data, basically, to see how the numbers are changing over the years. The average buyer household income is $96,000 a year, and to see it grow up into the 41 to 55-year-olds and then starting to taper down again from the 56 to 75-year-olds. So there's some cool information that you can use in your process. I make that a little bit too small. Adult compensation of home buyer households. Number of children under the age of 18 in the households. Seeing, obviously, if you're 21 and younger, 95% have children under 18. They're going to be the first-time home parents or first-time parents, things like that. What percentages were from multi-generational. So this is some great tools to give you an idea of what your audience is going to be. People who identify as transgender, as buyers' sexual orientation, race, ethnicity. All of this information is at your fingertips to be able to get an idea of how you want to work it and where. You pay for it to be a member of the National Association of Realtors. You pay to be a member of Texas Realtors. You pay to be a member of your local board. Take advantage of all of that data that is available to you and market yourself in that way. Understanding the percentage of buyers that have less than a high school degree, that have a high school diploma, associates, bachelors, all those type things. 30% 30% of all buyers last year had at least a bachelor's degree. Between bachelor's and master's, you made up 55%. So more than half had had that. Now, when you throw in the other two, it's a large number. So knowing these things is huge. Of course, English is a large spoken language in America. Primary language spoken in a home. English was definitely at the higher end of all buyers where they're buying. National origin of homeowners, majority of them are from America. Military veterans, this kind of surprised me. Only 20% of the homes purchased were purchased by active military veterans. So that was kind of, I was kind of expecting a bigger number in that regard. But seeing the ratios there is just kind of cool. First time home buyers in an age group, again, all buyers, 31%, first time home buyers, 22 to 30, 82%, 31 to 40, 48% of first time home buyers were between 30 and 41. So you're seeing a lot of people were renting for a long period of time, stayed at home for a long period of time, are now trying to branch out and start their own lives and seeing how it works. So some great information for you to have, and to cater yourself to those buyers as the professional who understands the process, who's going to help them cater them to that process. It's just a huge opportunity with knowing what you're seeing data-wise. Prior living arrangements, all buyers, 51% owned previous home. When you combine all age groups, rented an apartment or house, 37, lived with parents or relatives, 5, lived with parent relatives, friends, did not pay rent, 6. So just seeing some different things of how they worked it and what they did is just a huge opportunity for you to take back and see where you want to be. Primary reason for purchasing home, desire to own their own home, desire for larger home, desire to be closer to family and friends. We're seeing a lot of people, especially in our markets, want to leave El Paso or Las Cruces or wherever they are, and then realize, hey, I really liked it there. I've seen the world, I've seen what I want, but I want to go back and want to see it, and coming back to their hometown. So that opportunity is there. Desire to live in a better area, a large majority, retirement, growth, graduating college. All these are all reasons. Desire for a newly built or custom built home. With the pandemic of last year, mainly just a scenery change. I know I've been stuck in this house for over a year. I've seen everything I want to see on it. I want a home that, if this happens again, it has a pool, it has a great backyard, it has different things that will give me the opportunity to have a better marketplace. So primary reason for timing of home purchases. Just right time, was ready to buy a home, did not have much choice, had to purchase when I did. Best time because availability of homes for sale. So different reasons of why people are purchasing, but just, again, I'm not going to go through all 143 pages, just a lot of good information here. When you're talking with your clients, understand and listen to what they're looking for and what they need from you. Are they people who purchase multiple homes? They don't need to be handheld, and they're not going to want to be handheld. Have they never purchased a home before? They're probably going to want some hand holding. And changing your delivery and how you work with clients is great for each client. You've got to adapt with each new client that you have, how you're going to work with them. And having that conversation with them is extremely important. Brian, are you on? He usually is. Let me see if he pops up here.
Yeah, I'm here. I got my audio back. Two things that I want to just chime in on is number one, the cost of affordability whenever it's conversating with buyers, right? So a lot of times people are concerned, they're worried about the process, and renting is the easy entry, right? Renting is the easy way to get into the process, whereas purchasing is not easy, and there is some benefit to that. Now, this is something that I think people need to take into realization, because there's a lot of people out there right now that are actually naysaying the concept of rent or home ownership. Gary Vee, I like a lot of what Gary Vee says. I completely reject his statement when he talks about the fact that people should not be purchasing right now. Real estate is the biggest definer of wealth in America, okay? It is proven, it is defined, it's straight black and white. So the question is, are you going to take a piece of that? And what I would say when you're talking to a buyer that's on the fence and is debating that rental option, because it may be easier, it may be quicker, They may not have to go through the headaches of the purchasing process. Just understand that affordability, when it really gets down to it, is not just the payment, right? Affordability encompasses the tax benefits. Affordability encompasses the fact that you're gaining equity both by buying down and also by appreciation. All these things have to come into play. And a lot of times, agents don't have the education to roll that information out. This is why when your clients are talking to the lenders, listen to the lender, hear what they're saying, and then ask questions. Because the thing is, knowledge does become power, but you can only learn knowledge over time, which means that wisdom is a defined part of the equation as well. So just make sure that if you're having that conversation about affordability, make sure that affordability is actually what you're trying to focus on, because a lot of times rent is fast. Rent sometimes looks like it's cheaper, but at the end of the day, when you rotate all the other benefits of tax benefits, just home ownership benefits, even to the fact that you can't get kicked out of your home in the state of Texas because there's a homestead exemption. These variables are not in the same protection. Listen, if I have a rental that I want to sell tomorrow and I don't have a tenant that's in a lease, I can give them 30-day notice and they have to be out in 30 days. That insecurity would worry me more than the frustration to get into the purchase. So
and that's a great point, because we've seen that multiple times. We have a very large property management division, and a lot of times when our owners, and in this market, a lot of owners have decided, hey, I don't want to rent anymore, I want to sell. We give these notices to tenants, and every single one of them responds the same way. But I don't want to leave. Well, I'm sorry. He wants you out, and we have to play those games, and then they have to understand that just because you want to stay doesn't, unless you have a lease, you don't get to just stay, and that has created a huge frustration for a lot of people, saying, hey, listen. My goal was to leave in 3 months anyway. Can I wait 3 months? The answer is a lot of times is going to be no. If you want you out in 30 days because they want to sell, they want to do this, they want to do that. If you're going to stay, they're going to raise the rent $200, $300, $400 for the next couple of months. Whatever these things are, you lose a lot of that control when you're a tenant. If you don't like the color of the house, you can't change it. If you don't like the color of the room, you can't change it. If you don't want carpet and you want tile, or vice versa, you can't change it without permission from the owner. So understanding that is huge, and understanding the true value of being able to say, this is my home and I can do what I want and have it set up. Unless you live in a homeowner association, and then that goes out the window. But that's a whole nother conversation. I have a bias against homeowner associations. That's just who I am. So, but what Brian says is absolutely true. Just the knowledge that it's yours, and especially in Texas with the greatness of the homestead and what that offers and what protection that gives you, is a huge advantage that you need to sell and understand and give that back. And like I said, a renter's paying taxes anyway. You might as well get the tax advantage for it.
Well, and one of the things, so here's some negatives of the home ownership too. Guys, there's always two sides of a coin. It's the question of which side you're going to flip up, right? So one of the negatives is, I found this out yesterday. I had always kind of known this, but I guess I never really resonated it until it was actually brought up to mind. But in the state of Texas, because we are a common law state, if a person purchases a property with the expectation that they may have a divorce coming up soon, it is probably not in their best interest, because it becomes community property the moment that they're purchased that property, whether they've signed. So Texas does not allow for a sole and separate agreement as other states do. I actually had the impression that there was the ability to do that, and it sounds like there is not. So that's a scenario where maybe it might be a good thing to delay out, if you are planning on getting a divorce, to not purchase a property. That way you have your ducks in a row, have the conversation with the attorney. As Andrew mentioned earlier, we're not attorneys. We're not tax, CPAs. We're not any of that. We're not giving you any of those advice points. We're just giving you the knowledge that has been retained over Andrew's time as a broker, my time as an agent. That's what this goal is, right? We want to make sure that we provide value in any way we can, and give you, learn from our mistakes. I know I've made a few, and I know Andrew can probably attest to the fact of making a few as well.
Oh, absolutely. And the number one thing when you're talking with listing agents, especially, I hear this all the time, is, well, this is my house. I bought it. I didn't include my spouse. That's adorable. Well, I have a fun slogan. It's easy to remember. It takes one to buy, two to sell. I don't care what you think or what you've been told. More often than not, with very, 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 very few exceptions, the title company is going to allow this sale to take place without the spouse signing off on that sale, because they're not going to be risk them coming back later and suing for ownership. So even though you say, hey, I own this free and clear, it's mine, we're a community property state. As soon as they've hung their toothbrush in the other room, so they've made a utility payment, a house payment, a tax payment, anything, they can say, this is our property, we own it together. And you could say it's mine all day long, but at the end of the day, that's not how Texas works. And I got
that also has community or common law marriage as well.
Mm-hmm. So it just makes it really terrifying. So and I don't want it to sound like we're saying, hey, this is horrible for people who are married. I've been married for many, many years, very happy. Brian's been married many, many years, very happy. So we're not anti-marriage in any way, shape, or form. But understand, and I've seen this more often than I thought would be fathomable. People in the process of getting a divorce trying to buy a home. It's like, don't do it until it's done, because if you buy it while you're still married, you're still married. So we do see that come up. Definitely, if you're in the process of having a divorce, contact an attorney and have that conversation. Don't leave it up to the real estate professional to make those decisions. We are not attorneys. We're not lawyers in any way, shape, or form. But understand, the amount of times I've heard the title companies say, it takes two to sell, it takes two to sell. And you can all day long say, oh, no, this is my private property. It has nothing to do with them. That's great. They're going to sign anyway. And there's the law, and there's what the title company is going to require. And what the title company is going to require trumps, because they're the ones writing the policy. If they do not write a policy, the lender's not loaning the money, which means the buyer's not getting the property. So be aware of that, be vigilant of that, and understand, just because an attorney says, hey, this is what it is, that doesn't mean anything if the title company doesn't agree and is willing to loan against it. And that's a hard thing for attorneys to hear a lot. I've heard many attorneys say, hey, the law says this. The title company has pretty much a cocked and loaded answer and response of, then you insure it. Because at the end of the day, it's their money on the line, and they may or may not be willing to risk it based on that. So always talk to the title companies, make sure you're going through attorneys. But at the end of the day, if you are married or in the process of getting married or in the process of getting divorced, make sure you understand where you line in the fact that this is Texas and we are a community property state.
Excellent. Well, guys, listen, to accommodate with our series between my Mondays training, Andrew's Tea with Andrew on Wednesdays, and then now we're rolling in another one that we're bringing in another partner to kind of help co-teach this. So tomorrow on Thursdays at 2:00, we will be hosting a new agent training mixed with a new agent coaching. So Andrew will be serving on the side of the training side, and then they'll be swapping back and forth with Kent Bush, who will be joining us on the coaching side tomorrow. So the discussion tomorrow is kind of be the start and front finish of Texas real estate agent. Andrew will be talking about the information about brokerage services. And then it will roll over to Kent, talking about how to open up and tell people that you are in real estate, right? So we want this to be a productive opportunity for everybody to gain knowledge. I don't care what brokerage you're at. I don't care what you're doing in real estate. Listen, we can always build on what we know, right? And that's the key here, is that we always want to continue to offer that as a lead in value type of proposition. So Andrew, thank you for stepping up to that. And Kent will be joining us tomorrow at 2:00 Mountain Time, 3:00 Central Time. You'll be tuning in on all the live channels that you might be seeing right now. If you want to participate in that, if you will send me or Andrew an email, or Kent, if you're in his market area, or no Kent, then send him an email, and we will drop a Zoom link, because it will be very oriented like this, but we will have the Zoom meeting where it will actually be newer agents asking specific questions. So just wanted to lead into that. And other than that, I appreciate you guys for joining. And Andrew, I'm sure the same.
Absolutely. Appreciate it, guys. And we'll see you next week or tomorrow if you want to make that class.
Thanks, guys.